let's do a step-by-step for the lads. Whoever is watching this, they need a step-by-step, because we're going to do a lot of yapping and people need a step-by-step. What do they need? Let's say somebody has a construction company. What is the first thing they should have? The health and safety statement,
Yes,
right?
but first thing they have to have is their health and safety policy.
Right.
Which
How
is
do they
which
go
is
about
a
it?
declaration, just a one-page declaration that we care about health and safety. That should be displayed for view for all visitors or guests or anyone who kind of comes into their business. Then you need to have your health and safety statement, which essentially is, sometimes it can be 20, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 300 pages.
Depends on what you do. Our one is
yeah.
about that take, but it depends. Like if you're a one-man operation and you have a small business, it'll probably be something small.
Yeah, and there's a beautiful thing that the HSE do, where it's called what's it called? I'll remember it, but you can go online essentially and you can do up your own health and safety
I know
statement.
that,
And it just protects you.
Yeah, it's for anybody that doesn't want to hire people and they just can do it themselves. It's actually easy.
It is, but those safety statements, they cover you to a point, but they're not essentially...
They're not specific, yeah.
They're not specific, and they'll show that you're compliant, but you haven't gone into all the small details of a business. And then they need to have what we call their risk assessments, and that is the risks of every job that they do or any task that they do and what control measures. Then they need to have their training records, how they've actually trained people in it. And once they have that, that's kind of the basics of what you need. And then the rest will follow depending on the job. So certain companies will ask for your grievance and disciplinary policies. Another big problem is a lot of people won't put someone on a contract.
Oh, yeah.
And they think that if they have all the health and safety, that's perfect. But if they're not on a contract of employment, it's kind of...
So I'm going to try to put it in the easiest words possible, right? A lot of you guys already know this stuff, but look, you need 3 circles that they have to be boxed off in your company. One of them is your health and safety statement. You do it once a year.
Yeah,
right?
once a year, has to be reviewed.
Once a year, you do your health and safety statement. You need to have that. Whenever you get a job for a big company, they're going to add, the first thing they're going to ask is a health and safety statement, right? The second thing you need to have is for every job that you do, there needs to be risk assessment. It's called the RAMs, yeah?
I was just about to say they're called RAMs. And what that is, it's called a risk assessment and method statement. So essentially, your risk assessments will always kind of stay the same, but your method statement will change. So the scope, the sequence of works, the site entrance, the dates, the times, the personnel, and the PP that you will use. So you have to register what personal protective everybody is wearing, why they're wearing it, but certain jobs you mightn't have it. So you can't have the same RAMs for everything, you know.
So what I was going to say, you can hire Laura here, she can do your health and safety statement, and then, let's say on the first 3 jobs, you get the RAMs. And then you can basically, I'm not going to say copy and paste, but you have to adjust it yourself.
Yeah, what I do is I offer RAMs templates, so they can just adjust it. Yeah, so I'll do all the risk assessments. And even at that, yesterday I have a client, they go on retainer with me for the year. If there's a problem, they ring me, I go down to the site, I investigate all their accidents for them. One of my unique selling points is I do site inspections. And that means if you have people working at 2 o'clock in the morning on a site, I will actually go down, and what we have site reports. So it just looks good as a company that you have report inspections to say we've got someone who goes on to every site before the job has started, and I will see something that they might have missed and say, before you start the job, make sure this paperwork, get them what they call a safety folder that they bring onto every site, and if a contractor comes, here's all our documentation. And that's kind of, I worked on the sites, and that's essentially what I did for people, was set them up so if any contractor came along from high up, they just handed their folder and they were left alone because they were 100%
brilliant, because they can turn to a disaster, So that was the second one, the RAMs. And the third one, every company, whenever you're training people, you should have basically a portfolio of every man.
Oh yes, what you should have is what I call your employee files.
So let's say somebody is a roofer. They do what I do. What should they have? Because I know what they should have. I want them to hear it from you.
Well, they're going to have, first thing they're going to have is their working at heights training.
Working at heights, so
yes,
that's one.
That's one. If they use harnesses and stuff, that sometimes is included in the working at heights. But if you're working in very specific jobs, you might have to have extra harness training.
Yeah, so that's two trainings already, boys.
Inspecting you have to have your manual handling training.
Manual handling.
You have to have, obviously the main pass was the Safe Pass.
Yeah.
Now, Safe Pass, even you're not going on to commercial sites, you still need to have a Safe Pass to work in the business, in the construction industry. Yeah.
So that's that. And then what? Manual handling, we said already?
Yeah, your manual handling.
They're probably gonna need their MEWP to
I was
operate
going to
platforms.
say, your MUPE training, your forklift training. If they're using, internally, then you would do the training of ladders. There's not essentially a course on ladders, but how they inspect the ladders, they should be
I
inspected
think
every
there was.
week.
Where did we do it? There was a course on ladders, actually. In fact, was there?
To be honest, there probably is. There's courses for everything.
Yeah.
For in terms of health
Somebody
and safety,
told us to have a course on ladders when we went onto a site working for a pharmaceutical company. That's what they requested.
Yeah. And actually,
Nobody else would request it, but only them did.
And to be honest, ladders is one of the biggest issues that I have on sites. Is it's a problem because people don't think about it, and then, or else if you use somebody else's ladder and you haven't inspected it and they have an accident, well, who's liable there? They shouldn't have used the ladder, but if it was inspected and it was safe, then essentially the person who used the ladder, that's his fault or her fault, whoever used it. So
well, look, it's like getting the end of a car, it's it's up to you to check that all the discs are in place,
And then you'd have to have your general tool training. So obviously how to use tools, and if there's anything specific that they use, they'll have to, for example, they might have to get abrasive wheels training. You not in that kind of roofing industry, but depending on what you're doing. So mechanics would have to have that sort of stuff as well.
Brilliant. Look, guys, the reason why we're even talking about this is you will not be able to scale your company if you don't do those right. Yeah. Those 3 circles that I wrote here, right? They're the most important in a business, because absolutely nobody will hire you on a big commercial project if you don't have those. And
you look good honestly, from an employee's point of view. I'm going to want to work for somebody who cares about my health and safety, and I'm going to do a lot more for them than if they don't.
That's why, people say this is the biggest myth. People say, there's a big shortage of workmen, good labourers. We get contacted every single day. Somebody is looking for a job, and they're good, skilled tradesmen. And usually when I ask them, what brought you here? And he says, your company looks, the business online, the health and safety is everything. I want to be a part of your gig. Yeah. That's what they say to me.
As an employer, you've less stress, you've less worry, less risk.
I know.
It costs, as I say, people might think it's expensive to get their health and safety set up, but it costs more when there's a claim in and you don't have it. Yeah. And it will always happen. And essentially, you just get it done. Because as you say, you only have to update it for the job that you're doing or once a year. And especially when COVID came in, it was just a simple matter of you have a COVID-19 policy and then you just add that to your safety statement and you're sorted. That's all. And every time there's a new thing, you just add it to your safety statement. And even if you had, from a HR point of view, if you have something like an unfair dismissals claim or anything like that, the first thing they're going to ask you is, where's your training? Where's your health and safety documents?
Exactly. That's why people need somebody like you. Because like if I'm talking to people, there's some guys out there, they're already doing big jobs, and you tell them about HR and they don't even know what it is. They don't know what it is.